Seawater has no heart, no brain. The sea dog would then drop to the ocean floor thousands of feet down, entombing her forever. Maybe the best hope for poor Scoot was that she was already dead, but he had to determine whether she was still alive. He began pounding on the hull with the bottom of his fist, waiting for a return knock. At the same time, he shouted her name over and over. Nothing but silence from inside there. He wished he'd hung on to the silly scrub brush. The wooden handle would make more noise than the flesh of his fist. Almost half an hour passed, and he finally broke down and sobbed. His right fist was bloody from the constant pounding. Why hadn't he gone down below to make the stupid sandwiches? Scoot would have been at the wheel when the wave grasped the sea dog. His younger sister, with all her life to live, would be alive now. They'd had a good brother-sister relationship. He'd teased her a lot about being pint-sized, and she'd teased back, holding her nose when he brought one girl or another home for display. She'd always been spunky. He'd taken her sailing locally in the Channel, but she'd wanted an offshore cruise for her 14th birthday. Now she'd had one, unfortunately. Their father had nicknamed her Scoot because as a baby she'd crawled so fast. It was still a fitting name for her as a teenager. With a wiry body, she was fast in tennis and swimming, and already the school's champion in the 100-yard dash. Eyes closed, teeth clenched, he kept pounding away with the bloody fist. Finally, he went back into the ocean to try once more to open the doors. He sucked air, taking a half a dozen breaths, and then dove again. Bracing his feet against the companionway frames, he felt every muscle straining, but the doors remained jammed. He was also now aware that if they did open, more water would rush in, and he might not have time to find Scoot in the blackness and pull her out. But he was willing to take the gamble. Scoot awakened as water seeped into her mouth and nose. For a moment she could not understand where she was, how she got there, what had happened. Vaguely she remembered the boat slanting steeply downward, as if it were suddenly diving, and she remembered feeling her body going up. That's all she remembered, and all she knew at the moment was that she had a fierce headache and was in chill water in total darkness. It took a little longer to realize she was trapped in the sea dog's cabin by the galley alcove. She began to feel around herself and to touch floating things. The air was thick with an oil smell. Then she ran her hand over the nearest solid thing, a bulkhead. That's strange, she thought. Her feet were touching a pot. She lifted her right arm and felt above her. The galley range. The galley range above her. The boat was upside down. She felt for the companionway steps and found the entry doors and pushed on them. That was the way she'd come in. The doors didn't move. Sully crawled up on the wide hull again, clinging to a faint hope that a boat or ship would soon come by. But the sun was already in descent, and with night coming on, chances of rescue lessened with each long minute. It was maddening to have her a few feet away and to be helpless to do anything. Meanwhile, the hull swayed gently in eerie silence. Scoot said tentatively, "Sully?" Maybe he'd been drowned. Maybe she was alone and would die here in the foul water. She repeated his name, but more loudly. No answer. She was coming out of shock now, and fear icier than the water was replacing her confusion. To die completely alone? It went that way for a few desperate moments, and then she said to herself, "Scoot, you've got to get out of here. There has to be some way to get out." Sully clung to the keel with one hand, his body flat against the smooth surface of the hull. There was ample room on either side of the keel before dead rise, the upward slope of the hull. The sea dog had a beam of 10 feet. Unless a wind and waves came up, he was safe enough in his wet perch. Scoot again wondered if her brother had survived, and if he was still around on the boat or on it. With her right foot, she began to probe around the space beneath her. The pot had drifted away, but her toes felt what seemed to be flatware. That made sense. The drawer with the knives and forks and spoons had popped out, spilling its contents. She took a deep breath and ducked under to pick out a knife. Coming up, she held the knife blade, reaching skyward with the handle.